Well, hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us on the spur of the moment. I think you're going to find this particular take on where we're at with the Amazon's Rings of Power fascinating. All credit goes to the man with the beard, my wingman every other week on the Tuesday live show, Amanda Manethrin. Nathan, how are you doing? What do you have? How did this all happen?
I'm doing well. I was just happening to just look up the latest numbers on the ratios for all the trailers across the world for the last Rings of Abomination that they released, I think, 3 days ago. Just
Yeah.
curious to see what the numbers were because you had mentioned the Japanese numbers the other day, um, and so I decided to get a bigger list, get about I think 12 or 15 different countries or regions around the world to see if there is one that's even remotely being viewed uh, with any sort of approval. To my utter unshock and undismay, the answer was no. Everybody is resoundingly hating on this.
Yeah, and that's not a qualitative statement. Before we went live, Nathan showed me the database, an actual Excel spreadsheet with actual numbers based on things that were current as of an hour ago from that huge global audience that Amazon says they needed. Before we do get into that, I am being very rude. As ever, I am very lucky to have the incredibly talented and very opinionated and very wise Purple Valkyrie with me today. How are you doing? Thank you for being here. Sorry, I'm a rude American as ever.
I
So,
I am doing great. Yes, very, very interested to see what Nathan's found, and these figures are fascinating. We were having a quick look at them before we went live.
yeah. Let me shout out who we got in chat. I don't have anybody running the back end, so it's just me. Hail to you, Lyle Hammock. Great to see you here. We have Critical Jimbly says they ran into this and just as it started. Well, welcome here. We are fascinated to have people here. We have Jay the Deep Minded, who has been on one heck of an adventure, going all over the place and seeing cool things and sharing awesome pictures, making great jewelry. Great to see you here. And then we also have Sarah Garian. It's great to see everybody here. Let's get right into it. This is going to be a short stream. We're not going to fluff this. We're not going to sit here and use a lot of platitudes. We're going to start things off with the over. Well, why don't we do this? This thing speaks for itself. Chad, I'm going to drop you out, and I am blown away by this. Here we go. Talk about what this is. Talk about what this data means. How current is it? What are we looking at, Mr. Menethrin?
All right. So, in looking at this, I grabbed this information about an hour ago from various different Amazon Prime specific and owned operated pages on YouTube. And I had pulled a few of the numbers a few days ago when I did a video, and I all of a sudden the Australia New Zealand one disappeared on me. I couldn't find it, and I looked on their website and couldn't see the video where it was, where it should have been. Uh, and then when I uh, went to their playlist, I noticed that it had two videos hidden. I thought that was kind of interesting. Well,
Mm-hmm.
I got the inspiration somehow to look back in my history tab on my web browser, and I actually
Yeah.
found the trailer, but it was region restricted all of a sudden. However, I still could see the thumbs up, thumbs down information. So the second line from the bottom there, the
Mm-hmm.
Australia New Zealand one, you see that it had a ratio of 15-1, which is
Yeah.
absolutely insane.
So for those of you
Um,
obviously viewing this, if you're looking at a larger screen, you can see this data. The second line from the bottom is Amazon Prime Australia, New Zealand. There were 860 thumbs up on the Rings of Power trailer that dropped 2 days ago. 13,000 in change thumbs down, which is a ratio of 15-1, and yet it would appear, yeah, in the sub count for this channel is 13,084. And this is what's
yeah.
kind of squirrely about this is
The views
literally, go ahead.
the views match the thumbs up. Let me scroll down here real quick.
Okay.
Um,
Wow. Okay.
yeah, the views are actually 119.95. So I'll plug that in there.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, again, this is an astonishing piece of work by Amanda Manethrin. So, yeah, we're looking at that ratio. Okay. So, yeah. So it's
I
got
hit that.
yeah, it's okay. The big thing is the thumbs up to
There.
thumbs down in the overall ratio of this. Yeah, the total views of the trailer were 200,000. And so, I mean, this is just, it's fascinating. And this is the one that was blocked out in region restricted.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And
I
the
didn't
same
even
thing
look.
happened in India too.
Let's go there. Let's take a
Here.
look at that one. Yeah.
So the first one for India had 60,000 down, 3,200 up for an 18, almost 19-to-1 ratio,
The
which
Poles
is,
do not want this. The Poles and these
yeah,
people in Eastern Europe don't want their mythology screwed with. Romania, Poland, Hungary. We all know our friend in the Czech Republic by the name of European lore isn't too keen on this either. There's a reason, you know? Go ahead, Nathan.
yeah. I mean, and it's amazing to sit there and see that we in the US are at 9-to-1, which is still an astounding ratio. And we are nowhere near the top in hating on this.
Yeah.
Um, it's an incredible statistic. There's a lot of sevens, but even again, you're
And would
talking
we
about your
say that
European
it's
nations.
Yeah, and would we say that it is 7-to-1 downvotes? Now, this is the
Hmm.
data we can see. I talked about it on Prophet of the Dragons channel last night. We all know that the downvotes that appear using the Chrome extension or other extensions that may be out there to view downvotes only show you a fraction of the actual downvotes. You can go into your Creator Studio, you'll see the total number of what they are. And especially someone who I would say is a very important partner, as they say, which means that gives money, they're going to have the ability to control the narrative. I'm really wondering if we look at India, if we look at Poland, if we look at Australia, and we compare that to what we're seeing in the United States, where it's only 9-to-1 downvotes, I wonder if that's really accurate, but we'll never know. We will never know the answer to that question. What else did you find
Yeah.
fascinating about this in this data, Nathan? I mean, just overall. I mean, is there an overall ratio around the globe? Because we
Oh
all
yeah.
remember the head of marketing for Amazon going back to, when was it, 2017, 2018. I've made a couple dozen videos as to the evolution of the Rings of Power, analyzing this, Payne and McKay, looking at IMDb, who were the writers, who were behind this, all the made up characters. We've covered this. Now we're down to the brass tacks of, you all know what I think, what Purple Valkyrie thinks, what Nathan thinks, what countless YouTubers think. What does the planet think? What does this large global audience think of what's going on? Go ahead, Nathan.
Yeah. Well, and there it is, that top line, the combined total of all of these countries. And again, this is not all of them. This doesn't include Czech Republic, as you mentioned, and some
Hmm.
others
Hmm.
that I couldn't find. But almost working up to 500,000 thumbs down, and that is just in 3 days.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
I really want to point that out. That is fast ratio work. Only
yeah,
56,000 up. I don't care how many bots they throw at this thing. They can't
yeah.
keep up with how many people are absolutely not wanting this show. And an overall worldwide ratio of 8-to-1 is something that I should have Amazon, despite their ecosystem subsidization program going on there, should have them shaking in their boots.
So what we're really saying is, if we're believing the data we're being shown on YouTube by all of the Amazon Primes that we were able to find accessible, and some of us maybe found them, access them through VPN, that only 57,000 people on the entire planet of Earth with access to the internet, subscribe to Amazon Prime, who watched this
Right.
second trailer a week from the launch of $1 billion non-Tolkien adaptation. Only 57,000 people liked what they saw.
Right.
Do we believe any of this? Conversely, then, only 500,000 people in the entire planet didn't like what they saw. Go ahead, Purple. What do you got for me?
Yes, I think these numbers are way, way off. If you could just pull up what I've got. So this was incredibly hard to find, but this is the India one. And look at these numbers. Only 3,600 views from the 23rd of August. We've
Yeah,
got 278 upvotes and 448 downvotes. For India, that doesn't sound right.
no.
Yeah. Well, that matches up with what I initially
Mhm.
found.
Yeah.
I tabbed that on my spreadsheet as well, because they ended up restricting the view
Yeah.
on the main one that was getting blown out of the water.
hmm
Matt Jones, you're right. Looking at all these countries around the globe, it's wonderful to see such a diverse and inclusive community of bigots.
Rumph.
The jokes write themselves. But I mean,
They do. They do.
Purple Valkyrie and I have a bet on when the attack articles calling us is and phobes and bigots and racists and we're afraid of strong women and we don't like people of color. It just, you guys know. Like, is it going to be written like an hour before the show and they're just going to come out in accidentally? Are they going to come out the moment the show is over? Are they going to wait 5 minutes and then release what I guarantee you, in my opinion, is a pre-written narrative to counteract whatever people are saying. We've talked about it before. Will this first 2 episodes blow up? Will it get 35 million? Will it get 45 million views? Will it get all those things? Probably, because everybody's curious as to what they've done. And the way that they're packaging this is 2 episodes at once. I forget what the total duration is. I think it's about 2 hours, but
Mhm.
because Amazon doesn't have to share their metrics and what they consider minutes watched, that means you could simply probably watch a few minutes of this, be disgusted and turn it off, and that would probably it could, if they wanted to. They could count your 2 minutes as the full minutes of watches of these episodes because there's nothing to prevent them to, because no one's going to audit that.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we know that's going to be what they say first. If there is some miracle, if there is a miracle, and I genuinely still hope there is, where this show is amazing. This show belongs on the shelf, like they've said, with Peter Jackson's trilogy, with my Tolkien books. I just got this new set and I showed them off last night. But you know, this is how I am fortifying my fandom. This is how I'm fortifying my fandom. And I'm buying the action figures and I'm buying the things that to me are Tolkien. One thing I am not buying is that what Amazon has done is not Tolkien. It's not. This is the Payne and McKay's show. 24 made up characters. How many characters did Peter Jackson make up? Oh, wait. How many?
In Lord of the
It's over
Rings.
20.
Yeah. 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 Whose politics and whose story was Peter Jackson telling? It wasn't Payne and McKay's. You know? What else do you have, Nathan? Oh, wait. Yeah, I knew you had something. What do you got for me here, brother?
This is the original trailer back in February.
Yep.
And
Go ahead and read those
that,
numbers off for people on
yeah,
mobile. Go ahead and read it off.
yeah, that ratio. So we have 103,000 thumbs up and 1.9 million thumbs down, with 31 million views on this trailer.
Yeah.
So that ratio right there is insanely astounding.
So that's the one that goes back to the Super Bowl, of course.
Yes.
So, yeah, and we all know this is the one they've removed views from. You know, at a certain point, this data to me is stale. It's 6 months old. I think it's
Right.
relevant as a map marker. And then look at the evolution and response of this, and then match it up with the articles. And I've done a couple of videos of that, like overlaying the history of this and watching the actual marketing campaign and messaging around this show. And now we're where we're at today, where they're not even putting in Bear McCready's music in a trailer. They're not pretending to even use Howard Shore's music anymore. And we've got Evanescence karaoke for Lord of the Rings. I'm going to answer my own question as to what Peter Jackson's story was telling. Let's take a look at this real quick.
Casting for The Lord of the Rings was vital because it's one of the most beloved books of all time, and everybody that reads that book has a mental image of these people in their minds.
There's that bigot and istophobe who's afraid of strong women, who's doesn't want diversity by the name of Peter Jackson. That's essentially what Amazon and Payne and McKay's marketing department have said, is that by being faithful to the source material, you are not making it accessible for the modern world. 20 years ago was still the modern world. We did have the internet. We still had a lot of the technologies we did now. And yet they're telling us that it's not a fresh enough take for the modern world. Well, we're looking, and Nathan, throw those numbers up again. We're looking at the large global audience that Amazon said that they needed. And that large global audience, based on what data they've allowed us to see, the numbers speak for themselves. I continue to hold the position on this that my heart is broken. We will never probably get another adaptation that could have been at this scale, that could have been backed like this. And that, I think the unfortunate outcome of this is that it is going to allow even lesser talents, I don't know if it's possible, than Payne and McKay to access and mutilate Tolkien's world in Middle-earth. I am still very concerned by the purchase of Embracer. There were numerous pictures that went around from Dark Horse Comics and the artist out there that changed the look of Aragorn, also changed the look of Legolas. At this point, I think Amazon was really the battering ram that served to dilute and to destroy. Tolkien has a brand. Tolkien has a name. Tolkien has a legacy, and begin to chop it up and render the tiny pieces into flailing, flashy little piles of agenda-ridden whatever. That's what I am afraid is going to happen.
Mm-hmm. Tolkien also has a cultural heritage, and one that he wanted to make for the English people. And just going by the numbers from the UK, they do not want to know. People do not like what is being done with The Lord of the Rings.
Interesting. The Thad that shouldn't be, hail to you, Matt, is doing his own live detective work. That's why I love this little corner of our fandom and these cool people that we don't always agree with. He says, via VPN on August 23rd trailer, over 10 million views with 32,000 likes and 293,000 dislikes with nearly 15,000 comments. Also, the YouTube search algorithm is forcing people to the UK trailer. Fascinating. Purple, you had pulled up that data earlier in the views, which still does not make a lot of sense to me. I don't know how much we can trust any data from anything anymore. I mean, anything, really, especially healthcare. But in this case, we're talking about Tolkien. So I don't know. I mean, Purple, what are you seeing? And I'm going to go ahead and take this and drop this out. What are you seeing, Purple Valkyrie, on this? And thank you for that message. Matt, and chat, I'll bring you back.
I'm seeing this global audience, and specifically a much wider audience that they hoped were going to latch onto this, that they simply don't want it. They do not care. We saw the numbers for India. We've seen Australia. The two biggest audiences that they really should have focused on would have been obviously the US and the UK, because of where Tolkien set his ideas, and maybe Australia and New Zealand as well. But for them to be putting this show out at 2:00 in the morning UK time, to me, it means they do not care. This is an audience that they do not, they're not interested in. They are chasing the US audience.
Now, we had a live stream talked about how they had said the show is releasing on September 1st at 6 p.m. Pacific time, which means 9 p.m. Eastern time, again, on September 1st. Are we incorrect with that? Because every piece of marketing that we have seen still has September 2nd on it. Am I missing something, you guys? And in chat, you guys tell me too, because we were looking at the new press releases. It said September 1st.
Mm-hmm.
What is literally going on?
And we still have an explanation for this. They could have quite easily released it on the 2nd, which is the date that they always said they were going to, but later on. So they could have released it. The UK could have had it evening time, or you guys could have had it in the morning, or vice versa. It just seems incredibly bizarre that they've moved it forward.
Yeah. So, we live in a world, say, is a post-truth world. It's not about reality. It's not about who it hurts. It's not about if it's good. It's about how it looks. And if you don't like that narrative, you are insert name. You're a denier. You're an anti-this. You're a bigot. You're a phobe. You guys see a pattern? Well, it's in our entertainment too. Look at what's going on with She-Hulk and all those things. These numbers speak for themselves. So they can't just say it's white privilege. They can't just say it's white straight males and all this other nonsense that they normally do. This is the global audience that is not being appealed to. There's no reason Amazon would hide if there was a country doing well. In my opinion, there's every reason to hide when things are not going well. And this is pretty astonishing. A global overall ratio, as of an hour before the show, of 8 down votes to 1 up vote. With the biggest outliers being Australia, Poland, India, and then behind that, lagging, is the United States, which is just blowing my mind. Go ahead, Nathan.
Yeah. What I thought was interesting with that screen share that Purple was just giving us, it's interesting to notice that the UK downvotes, even from an hour and a half ago, have gone up by 4,000.
Oh, but that's why, because this is validating what that shouldn't be said. Which is that they're forcing people off of the US trailer because the numbers look so bad to go to the UK trailer because the numbers aren't so bad there yet. Now, is that an accident? Maybe it's just a coincidence, guys. Maybe there's no nefarious plan. I doubt. I doubt that.
It serves a purpose that they're trying to railroad viewers to certain ones that are a little bit less tragic, because he did say that the ones from Australia and New Zealand are being funneled to the US because the Australia New Zealand ones at a 15-to-1 ratio, and it's just obviously more appealing to US viewers, I guess.
Yeah. What you're watching in real time is, in my opinion, the effect of a fortifying algorithm. You are watching this being done, in my opinion, deliberately to craft a narrative and to try and control that narrative. It is something that we see every day now, every day in the real world.
Yes.
And now here it is. Go ahead, Purple. And then Nathan, you take it.
I was going to say that just going by those numbers and what we've seen, that makes perfect sense, because going by the India numbers, I would say, and I think somebody mentioned it in the chat as well, this trailer has been shadow banned with over 3 million, I think, subscribers to the Amazon Prime India YouTube channel. There is no way there has been only 3,000 views on that particular trailer.
Right.
Yeah. I'm going to bounce this out. Go ahead, Nathan.
And to consider the fact of what, it's not just Amazon doing this, or it's not just Amazon being viewed negatively by fans. It's Disney too, because yesterday I looked at the Pinocchio trailer and I want to pour vodka in my eyeballs to wash it out. But the trailer on that was being ratioed 10-to-1, and it had a lot of participation in the voting, and I want to say it was around 200,000 downvotes on the live action Pinocchio trailer. So it's hitting it's Disney's pissing everybody off, Amazon's pissing everybody off.
Yeah.
The entertainment industry's on notice.
Yeah, those that have some accountability. I talked about it on the Tuesday show, which is that if there are no consequences to failure, if there are no consequences to misrepresenting products, if there's no consequences to creating a substandard product, which people do not want, then guess what? They're going to make products that are even more substandard. In my opinion, I think you can look at Disney Star Wars, you can look at Marvel, the Marvel Phase 4, and to my opinion, Marvel Phase 5. I will never watch another Marvel movie, ever. Not until all of this stuff changes. Now, I know there are channels out on YouTube that have been talking about what's going on with Warner Brothers and this new individual they brought in to become their new Kevin Feige. Now, that is a complicated, messy bucket of worms, but I would say go look at that person's pedigree and what they've been part of before we start popping champagne corks and saying the woke is over. Just going to say that, okay? Let's get back to this. Thank you, Purple Valkyrie. I have Vic Rattlehead and hail to you, brother. I believe Vic is actually in India. If you have some comments on what the actual word of mouth stuff is there, I would love to hear it, Vic. And he just gifted, oh my God. He gifted 5 Salty Texas Sea channel memberships. If you are not a member of my channel, you are now getting 1 month free of if you're in chat. And there's no obligation. If at the end of 1 month you'd like to sign up, you can. You'll get a notice, but there's no billing. There's no tricks. You can thank Vic Rattlehead, and Vic is the very first person who ever gave me a super chat when I first got monetized all those months ago. Vic,
That's incredible.
Absolutely value and respect your loyalty, your passion, and your fandom. Thank you very much. But yeah, let's take a look at this trailer from Brazil. For we all remember, Amazon Brazil were the ones who gave me 2 strikes because Purple Valkyrie and I got the essentially 80% of the trailer that came out a week early because they left it on YouTube and it already had views and I reported on it. So I had a sword hanging over my head thanks to these guys. So they have 1.25, so 1.25 million subscribers for Amazon Brazil. This is a chunk of audience. Apparently, this video has only gotten 298,000 views out of that 1.25 million Brazilian viewers. Out of that, it has only gotten 6.6 thousand upvotes out of nearly 300,000 views with 17,000 downvotes. Guys, I don't know what is going on with this data, but as someone who works in data and has worked with data for a number of decades, there's something weird and off with this. I don't know what it is, but it doesn't look right, and it hasn't looked right for a long time. Nathan, what do you have for me?
Oh yeah, it's nothing adds up, and it's pretty typical of the way that big business runs. They want to sit there and massage the statistics any way they can to make it look like they're doing something in a more positive direction. The problem is when you get to these types of numbers, there's no way that you can massage this data. You can't, you can't sit there and put nail polish on the piece of crap and say that it's not that. It's not going to change anything. And this is what they're running into, a buzzsaw with Tolkien fans. And I don't know that they really anticipated this very much at all. They saw a much easier group with Robert Jordan's fan base. Tolkien's a whole different beast.
Yes, just going off that, do you think that they really underestimated the pushback that they were going to get from the fans? Just how much people loved Tolkien and his work?
Yeah,
I do. I would say they did. They got a lot of pushback from the Robert Jordan fans, and I think that they probably thought that, okay, well, if we can handle this fan base who are huge fans of a 14-book set, then I think I think we can stem the tide. But the problem is they limited it to fantasy base. And I did a video on this a few months ago where the Tolkien fan base involves the educational system, linguists, movies, books, a whole slew of different things that Robert Jordan just isn't in. And because it is such a wide breadth over society, it just turned into a buzzsaw that those dipshits couldn't figure out.
Yeah. I'm going to take this comment from Daniel, who's just started his own channel. If you're out there, you want some pretty good quality takes from a very fresh, up-and-coming YouTuber, go give Daniel's channel a subscription. Hail to you, brother. Thanks for taking the plunge and joining this fight. He says, the only number you can somewhat trust is the upvote, which is still inflated. Boy, where have we seen all this before? Oh yeah, March 2020. 2 weeks to slow the spread. That's okay. When none of us have power and we're freezing to death and starving next year, at least maybe we can all huddle around some rich person's window and watch whatever the future episodes of this show are going to be. What a world we live in, guys. What a world. So many lies. So many lies that we're all just supposed to go along with. And when they're revealed, they say they never said it. It's fascinating, isn't it? And where I'm going with that is look at what they did with Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time. This was the most successful show ever. It's going to get 5 seasons. It had 5-star reviews for 6 months, and then they stopped fortifying it. And the reviews fell to a level that all of us who were Robert Jordan fans who were talking about this show completely agreed with, which is this was maybe a 1.5-star, 2-star show best. And most of those upvotes were inflated from normies who had no idea what it was about. Nathan, I think you're right about this. I think they tried to learn, and we predicted it. I did, you did, Amanda Manethrin, Kyle, Zax, Disparu. We all talked about what Amazon was doing, that the Wheel of Time was the proving ground for how to manipulate and bend and agendize a fantasy property, and then how to create a narrative and counter-narrative in a Marxist fashion to attack people who are saying, what you're doing is killing this. What you're doing is destroying my culture. They've tried to do it here, and it keeps blowing up in their face. I think it will continue to blow up in their face. I'm going to start winding down with this. Let me call out some people in chat, and then we'll go to final thoughts. Jay, the deep-minded, said they also underestimated the numbers of knowledgeable Tolkien readers and those who have read more than The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings. Well, even if you only read The Hobbit, I'm pretty sure you've read more than Payne and McKay did. And I'm pretty sure you read more than the writers responsible for the first season of The Rings of Power. Let's review it one more time. Who were the writers behind Amazon's Rings of Power show? Payne and McKay, of course. Then you have a writer who wrote for Disney's Toy Story 4, the editorial director of Star Trek Discovery. This is all on IMDb. And then the other person was a writer for the CBS current show, or I don't know if it's live or not, Hawaii Five-0. Sounds like quite a pedigree to be given such a gift and precious opportunity to write the novel that Tolkien couldn't write. Jay, the deep-minded, you're right. We saw through this from the beginning. They hit the "you're the racist" button. They've been doing, you're afraid of strong women. Now we've got actors from virtually every show out there talking about the way they look in the real world and how people don't like something because of those characteristics. I can't wait for Princess Diza Sophie Namvetti to call me a racist. She's never met me. She never watched one of the 35, 40 Fire of Fandom videos that I made showing what true Tolkien fans look like. You know, if you haven't watched my series, no one in there has ever talked about the color, ethnicity, sexuality, political beliefs of anything to do with Tolkien. We talk about why we love Tolkien and what troubles us about the Rings of Power. And not anybody said it's because Princess Diza is a black mother and stage actress. It's because it's not faithful to the source material.
Such a gem.
Yeah.
Once your actors become activists, you know you've got a problem with your production.
Amen.
Vic Rattlehead answered my request, and I was behind because I was pontificating. I may be known to know that. He says, this is from Vic Rattlehead, and again, I believe you're in India because you give me super chats and rupees. So hail to you. He says, I'm considered quite the contrarian, so my friend circle is very selective. The upper middle class people here just take up 2 to 4-year-old Western leftist culture and lap it up. That is fascinating. It is the infiltration of this, and it is the poison of Marxism. Interesting. Yeah, I'll have to talk with Vic a little bit more because that just turns into conjecture. And if it's one thing I've learned not to do is to try and assume what other cultures think and how they act. Amazon pretended that we're one big global country, that maybe just needs a big global government because we're all the same. We're just all the same. And we're going to invent some more genders too, just to make it more fun. And we can all share the equity. We can all share the equity of being energy poor, in food poor, in entertainment poor, and led by our technocrat betters. Well, here's our technocrat betters. Here's what they think of us. This is what they think of Tolkien. I know I'm going down a rabbit hole here, but you can't look around in the IRL and see what's going on and not start to see what's been happening to our entertainment and the scarcity of that which affirms being an individual, the hero's journey, Western civilization, bravery, and being just human.
Yeah. Death of culture is a death of civilization and death of freedom.
Agreed. Yeah. Entertainment is no longer escapism. It was once a mirror to real life, and now it is a reflection. It is real life. They are trying to force real life politics, everything into it, and it is not working.
Yeah, it's being rejected like something you should never put in your body, which wasn't tested. Oh, I did say that. You guys, let's start wrapping up. I only wanted to go 45 minutes. Thanks, everybody, for being here. Nathan, before we go, we've got a bunch of people have come in. Throw that graphic up with the database that you did. I think this is important, and we're going to update this live. The numbers here versus the numbers we see Tuesday for the next live show, which Nathan will be a part of.
Oh, not that one.
Yep. Let me know when you're ready to take it. Yep. That looked like, yeah. Hey, Keely Chow, welcome to the show. Yeah,
hey.
This is what happens when you're live streaming, and it'll be fine. No pressure, Nathan. But Purple Valkyrie, I was surprised by that database, the numbers that Nathan pulled up. I really was. I couldn't believe those ratios.
Absolutely.
No.
And I think it's definitely worth again keeping an eye on, because these numbers, they're either going to be frozen, or they're going to be like the other trainers, they're going to be shadow banned, or they are going to work the algorithm and shift people towards various sites to kind of balance the numbers, I guess. And somebody said in the chat, it's cooking the books, and it absolutely is. And we're still a week away before this show drops. So I'd be fascinated to see what happens. And who knows, we might get another trailer before it drops, because God knows we haven't had enough of those yet.
God help us.
Nathan, maybe if you just open up what you emailed me, because I'm on a Mac and I don't have that app. So
okay. Let me. Well, it wasn't finding it in the share screen.
Yeah.
So let me try it.
I actually have it. If you can't, I pulled it up in Word. So yeah, you guys, this is worth looking at. Hopefully this will not be squirrely as hell. I've never tried this before. All right.
That looks pretty good.
Does it? All right.
Yeah. Zoom in.
Yeah. I'm getting there. If you can find it, Nathan, that would be really good.
Yeah.
All right. So how's that? Is that a good view?
Yep, that's perfect.
Yeah.
All right, so these are the numbers we are talking about. Nathan, explain this one more time for the people who have just come in. What are we looking at, and why are we having this live stream?
All right, so this is about an hour and a half ago. The numbers that I pulled down directly from the prime regional websites on YouTube. So we're looking at huge ratios. All the way down. The nicest one is the current India one, which is insanely dwarfed by the actual India one that they restricted to US view very recently. They did the same thing to Australia, New Zealand's views, to where we're seeing ratios in for those two regions, and for Poland of 14% or 14-1 and over. Whereas US is 9-1, and it's currently sitting in fourth place. So we need to do better, US.
Yeah.
Overall worldwide ratio is 8-1.
Yes. Yeah, and that was on the other page. So if you aggregate all this data, has them an hour before the show, using all of this information from an hour before the show started on a global basis, the large global audience that Amazon Prime needed to be so excited about Payne and McKay's Rings of Power show is 8 downvotes to 1 globally based upon what we strongly believe to be massaged data. And in
Yeah.
real time, thanks to Unbearable 73, Matt, they are redirecting via algorithm. There is more than anecdotal evidence to indicate that they are redirecting people out of these high ratio downvote sections to other global sites to dilute, it would appear, based upon our interpretation of this, the radical downvoting across these regions, especially the Australia, New Zealand, the Poland one, and India. They are being referred to the UK and the United States one because they want to try and not make it look as bad as it is.
Yeah.
That's, I'd
And
say that is an accurate assessment based on the data we have at hand.
yeah.
Go ahead, Nathan.
And the other interesting thing that I thought too is over the course of the past 3 or 4 months, we've seen a lot of Amazon favor heading towards the Brazil market. Them getting previews that they weren't giving to the US, videos that you and Purple were seeing, that and that Zax has caught as well, that weren't available in the US. And even Brazil is resoundingly rejecting this with a 2.5 to 1 ratio. So they can't win for losing on any of this stuff. And that's all because of their dishonesty in dealing with the source material and the public.
Ian's Purple, I'm going to let you go. Let me get to Ian So Forth, channel member. Hail to you. Great to see you. You're a member on my channel, Purple's channel, many people's channel. Thank you so much for your support today. For 10 British pounds says, don't worry. They'll just rename the dislike button the moderately like button. It's true. It's true. And I just went through a long YouTube survey. I think anyone else who's a creator, you guys got that out there? It's weird. It's long. That's a whole other, I'm just going to save that for another video, but it's crazy the things that they're trying to push. And it looks like I may be part of an actual telephone group. Yeah, I'm sure they want me to tell them what I think, but thank you very much. You're right, Ian So Forth. You know, hate is violence. If you hate something, if you don't like it, it's violence. And I need to call you a name. Look at these numbers. We can all sit here and say, I don't like it, and I don't like Gladriel, and I think Elrond's haircut is stupid, and what are they doing with Numenor, and that doesn't look like the queen, and what are we doing with Princess Diza? We can all do that, and you know what? We're all allowed, and we should have the ability to do that. Those are very personal observations. We don't all agree in this fandom. What you have to look at is the data they are showing us. This is the argument. This is the conversation. Because this, they can't call you a racist over. They can't say you're afraid of strong women. They can't make up lies. And we're going to look at this data in a day or two and see where it's trending. And I'm going to get with Unbearable 73 to look at where the algorithm is driving some of these people. Because Matt, Unbearable 73, he is a data animal. He's crazy good at this stuff. So hail to you. Thanks for everybody for being here. We're about to go to 45 minutes. And hail to Mike. I know, dude, I was going to reach out to you. This is good data, Nathan. And OBG70, Mike knows data too. We're all nerds and dorks like that. And yeah, Poland is based AF. They are.
They are.
Hungary is too. That's why our global betters are trying to destroy them.
Something about standing against communism for so long.
Well, something about wanting your own national identity, you know, something about populism, something about not wanting to be run from Brussels, you know, about having unelected officials suddenly take things away from you and said that this is your era of abundance is over and your electricity prices are going up 4,000% because reasons. Anyway, I have to stop talking because I like my channel. We're going to close out. The last comment's going to come from Vic Rattlehead and says, YouTube's engineers working overtime to cook the impressions, in his opinion. Some of Amazon Prime indie videos have genuine comments and dislikes, but others are strangely sanitized. And this is from the ground from my channel, longtime channel member and supporter in India, Vic Rattlehead. These are the insights we want. Are you going to call Vic Rattlehead the same name that you do us in the UK or in America? It's crazy. Look at Indian cinema. There's a reason why this stuff is being rejected. I've been on Zach's and live streams with Flaccid Phoenix where they're talking about, we don't want this. We want strong male archetypes. We want heroes in our culture, and they want it. I don't like everything Indian cinema, but I'm saying that has a global audience calling us racists, calling us islamophobes. How does that work for Japan, for Brazil, for India, for Poland, for all of these other countries? We're not all the same. We're not. Yeah, Rosie, we can talk about that in the Wolf Chat thing. I don't want to have the climate cops show up and arrest me yet. So let's do this. Let's get out of here. You guys, if you want this, Nathan will send this to me. I'm going to post this on Twitter. Please, if you use this in your own video or for research, please give credit to Nathan Amanamanethran. I am lucky enough that he wanted to do this on my channel. I hope you've taken something away from this. Again, if we're wrong and this is the best show ever, I am going to admit that. Purple Valkyrie, what's your take on this? Then we'll end with you, Nathan, with the last word.
I think it's definitely something we should keep an eye on for the next few days, and especially when we do the Tuesday show, to see just how these numbers change, if indeed they change at all. But it is curious to see that they can say, well, look how horrible the people in the US or the UK are, but people in India and Japan aren't horrible, clearly, because they haven't ratioed it. Never mind that these trailers are being hidden on those particular channels. It's incredibly disheartening.
Yeah. Nathan,
yeah,
I can't thank you enough for doing this research. Your nerdiness astonishes me. I have to do stuff like this for work. I don't do it for pleasure. You, my friend, are either a very talented and creative individual or a sick one. Either way, I'm glad you're my friend. What do you think about this? Where do you think this is going to go? And I know you got to go too.
Well, it's just going to be interesting to see where it goes. I don't really have any idea of where it goes. It may just be an indication of Amazon ignoring us because they do want to destroy fantasy, destroy escapism, destroy everything that's good about culture. Period. Imagination is a bad thing, apparently. I think that's ultimately their end, which makes them in bed with the governments of the world.
Agreed.
Foil hat, but I just found it very fascinating, and it wouldn't have piqued my it was piquing my interest enough to look at the information, but it really started sounding bells off when I couldn't find the Australia New Zealand one, and then I couldn't find the initial India one, and I don't think it's going to be too long before we actually start seeing some of these trailers disappear and reappear as new videos to try and hide the numbers that they're getting blown away with. Amazon is a very, very devious company in terms
in your
of
opinion.
wanting to.
In your opinion,
Yes,
sorry, you got to say that. Sorry, yeah.
But if they can hide this data, then then it can go out there to normies who don't know any better, and they're going to say, "Oh, it's not so bad."
Yeah.
Because it's bad to question things.
And all those Twitter bots for She-Hulk and other shows that we've seen recently, the narrative and the push of racism that we saw with Kenobi, virtually everything that was calling names and shaming and promoting the physical attributes of those people who were cast to play made-up characters who do not exist in Tolkien's world are what we are going to hear about for the Rings of Power. That's my prediction. They don't have anything else to stand on. We're just going to get the same damn thing that doesn't work, and they're going to pretend it's working, much like an inoculation that a lot of people had to get a couple of years ago. Which, surprise! Yeah, I have to stop talking. You guys, thank you for being here today. Yeah, Rosie, I am sorry that you are not feeling well. I myself am not feeling well. I'm going to say that. Don't be concerned. I don't believe I'm dying yet. But yeah, I'm a little under the weather, so I wanted to do this while I still felt pretty good. You guys are fantastic. Thank you for being here. If you're on social media and Twitter, please, again, Nathan is not. If you want to get a hold of him, please reach out to me on Twitter. If you're there, I will act as a conduit because I want Nathan to get the credit for this. And also, if you want to, if you're a creator on your own and want to keep up with some of this data, I'm sure he would be more than obliging, especially if you bought him a milkshake. So you guys are, maybe that's me. I really want a chocolate milkshake, guys. Like, I'm like, God, you know what I want? I want a chocolate
Add some bourbon
milkshake.
into
I mean,
that.
I know this is where like pre-apocalypse and, you know, pre-New World Order and everything, but man, I could go for a really good chocolate shake. You guys are fantastic. And Rosie, I feel bad for you. I'm going to reach out to you and offer you some suggestions. Gypsy cold care tea is important, but I am not a doctor, and apparently I can lose my channel because that's considered medical advice. But we can't talk about Hunter's laptop. Anyway, Jacob Ironsides, better late than never. Please watch it on the restream. And yeah, you guys, thanks for being here. Before we go, Nathan, where can people find you? We'll briefly wrap up. I'll go to purple and we'll get out of here.
Yeah, you can find me on my channel, Man of Manethrin. Just got these statistics. Did a video the other day about the subliminal messaging behind the last Lord of the Rings trailer. And catch me on this coming Tuesday on the Tuesday stream here on this channel, and then on OBG70's channel for Wednesday D&D.
Which is fun.
Yes,
It's a blast.
Yes,
Go
it
ahead.
is.
Purple Valkyrie, I can't do these shows without you. You bring the talent and the brains and the beauty, and I'm a paperweight. Thank you for always coming on the spur of the moment. So thank you very much. Where can people find you?
Thank you for having me, and well done, Nathan. This was a hell of a find. So fantastic work. Really, really impressive. So thank you. Yep, you can find me on Rise with Purple Valkyrie. I will be probably doing a later stream tomorrow afternoon, kind of a chill stream. So if you guys want to come and hang out, that would be fantastic. And then I will be back on Tuesday with these fine gentlemen on Salty's channel.
Yeah. And hail to Mike, OBG70. Give him a sub. He's the guy who set up all of the legwork, setting up the AD&D game we're playing. It's 2nd edition, not this trash woke 5th edition stuff. Hail to Mike. We have, man, the first guy I ever worked with on YouTube. We all came together. Nathan, Zax, all of us, Prophet of the Dragon, go way back. So hail to you, Mike. Give him a sub, please. And right at the bell, look at this guy. Taker 610. Dude, never change. Thank you so much. I love seeing all these people I've known for how many months, like years now. Taker 610 with a $2 super chat says, "Our BO even larger than our feet." Yeah, can you imagine how stinky those Harfoots are? All I can think of is it's like Woodstock meets Burning Man meets I don't even know. It's just it's gross. But I you know what I'm predicting this. The hobbits are into polyamory. I bet you they're going to be an allegory for all of the alternative sexualities in Payne and McKay's world. Yeah. I've said this before. I know George Molo released a really cool video today. Give him a sub, George the Giant Slayer.
Yeah,
If you haven't watched his video. And George, we still have to work together at some point. I know you're busy and we'll catch up. But yeah. This is not the Lord of the Rings. This is not Tolkien. This is Payne and McKay's novel using stolen valor, Gladriel, to tell a story that is Payne and McKay's story. Maybe it'll be good like that, but how can you judge it by that criteria? Because they've been telling us that this is the novel Tolkien couldn't write. I don't know. I don't have high hopes. And hail to Teresa. You guys don't want to let us leave. We all love Teresa. Ms. Martin Muses is dropping some fantastic reviews of Tolkien literature. She's currently reviewing Short of Shannara. It's a pretty good fantasy series by Terry Brooks. Hail to you. And I got to get out of here because I know you got to go. I know you got to go. So we'll get out of here. Thanks to everybody who's been here. Thank you for the super chats. Thank you for the awesome comments. Again, I'm on Twitter. If you want to keep up with some of this data, if you're a creator on YouTube, I will hook you up with Nathan Manethrin. He's not on social media, but we are going to be following this data. And if there are significant changes between now before the Tuesday show, we will talk about it. But all of you, thank God it's Friday. Thank God for that. I hope you have a wonderful evening tonight. I hope you have a fantastic weekend. You all take care. And yeah, I know how to YouTube. 1 second. There we go. You guys have a great day. I had
Take care,
stream
all.
brain. I had stream brain right at the end. Bye.